We're following another huge story playing out since the primary. Incumbent Congressman Tony Gonzales announced he's dropping out of the May runoff. This comes after he admitted to an affair with a former staffer who later died by suicide. And there's a lot to unpack here, and for insight, we're joined by two reporters covering the story. Bayliss Wagner covers politics for the San Antonio Express News, and Brad Johnson is co-founder of the Texas Bullpen, which also covers Texas politics. Welcome to both of you for your state of Texas. Thank you for talking with us about this issue. I want to start with Gonzales and Bayliss. You've been doing a lot of reporting about the congressman. I first want to just walk through the timeline. When did the allegations first become public, and what was the congressman's initial statement to everything?
Yeah, we'd have to go back to September when Current Revolt, an online publication here, published that there were rumors that Gonzales had been in an affair with Regina Santos Aviles, who died by suicide that month. In November at the Texas Tribune Festival, Gonzales denied all rumors that he was involved with Santos Aviles. And then we really didn't hear much about it until 2 weeks ago when I got in touch with a former staffer who shared a text in which Regina said, "I had an affair with our boss." And then it's kind of just been revelation after revelation after revelation. From then, we had a week ago, we got texts from her phone in which she and Gonzales exchanged, I guess, graphic sort of texts where he asked her to send a sexy pic and persisted in asking after she pushed back and said he was going too far. So that's where it started.
And he kind of had this switch up here this week, Brad, pretty abrupt switch up. Do we know why he all of a sudden acknowledged this affair?
I think the biggest reason is that House leadership, including the Speaker, started pressing him to drop out. And this was clearly a black stain on them, having endorsed him and funded him and backed him so far. And they were tired of it. They have enough problems on their hands right now. And so it was the slow drip of the scandal coming out, creating this monsoon of political pressure for him to just go out, leave the fray, and drop out of the race.
Well, it's not unusual we hear about an affair in Congress, but how unusual is it for party leadership, Brad, to really go out against their own?
Normally this is settled behind the scenes quietly, and the person steps away without really much hay being made publicly. He refused to drop out when this first came out, and as Bayliss said, he was quiet. He did not even acknowledge really even questions about it. But then it became too much for him to ignore, and it became too much for leadership to ignore. And so what could have normally been settled behind closed doors quietly was blown out into the public.
Yeah, and Gonzales was headed to a runoff with Brandon Herrera. Now he's out of the picture. Brandon Herrera has the sole nomination. What do we know about him? This is not the first time he's run for this seat.
Yeah, he came very, very close to ousting Gonzales in 2024. He's pitched himself as a right, a further right alternative to Gonzales. He's a gun rights activist. He's a YouTuber. He's also a firearms manufacturer. And he has kind of gotten a lot of attention, partially for some controversial comments he's made. This morning, Dems were already rolling out their Oppo research on past statements he's made about buying Mein Kampf, for example. But he's said, that he cares a lot about Second Amendment rights. He doesn't want to see any new restrictions on guns, and that he's also interested in border security and kind of all the other conservative issues you'd associate. Yeah,
there was 4 nominees in the Republican primary, 4 in the Democratic in the primary, and actually the Democrat nominee, Katie Padilla Stout, she got the most votes out of all 8 candidates in this race. What do we know about her?
She is a former public school teacher and an attorney. She is someone who has said she cares a lot about school funding, affordability, healthcare. She called on Gonzales to resign today, but really she said, people want a common sense person who's going to listen to them, and she's pitched herself as that alternative to Herrera.
Now that we have the field set for Texas 23, this is a very large district that runs from San Antonio all the way to El Paso along the border. Is this a chance for Democrats here, now that Brandon Herrera is the sole candidate, more of a farther right conservative candidate? Is this a chance for Democrats to maybe flip this? I want to get both your opinions here. Start with you, Bayliss.
I'd say that this is going to be a really tough one for them. The district went 15 points for Trump in 2024, and it's rated solidly red by the Cook Political Report. So they would really need probably to have money from the national campaign arm, which has not committed to do that, even though they've said they're sort of looking into it. But that doesn't mean that it's impossible. We saw in Tarrant County a month ago that a Trump plus, I think, 18 district then swung 30 points to the other side.
Brad, do you agree?
Democrats have tried to get this seat pretty much every cycle since redistricting. They almost had it, I think, in 20. It was real close. And before that, it was even more of a purple district. Republicans shorted up, and it's only gotten redder since. The partisan rating, I think, is R57, which means roughly a 7-point advantage for Republicans from 50 from a dead heat district. It would take a lot for that seat to be in play, but a lot has happened. And the Gonzales scandal might be such a stain, coupled with the good cycle for Democrats this year, that it could be in play, certainly.
Okay, Brad Johnson, Bayliss Wagner, thank you both for coming on and answering our questions.
Thanks.
Great to be here.
A statewide race with a surprising result.
Everybody's in agreement that we just can't afford another 4 years under our current leadership.
Republican Nate Sheets defeated three-term incumbent Sid Miller in Tuesday's primary. We'll ask him what made the difference and what comes next. Freeze all H-1B visas, pause all immigration, fully fund DHS. Texas Republicans send a list of demands to Washington. We break down the push and the potential impact. Minority and women-owned businesses sue the state after the acting controller overhauls the HUB program. Why they say the move unlawfully shut them out.